Hey guys, I wanted to make a video today talking about the Courier and a couple of issues that I've noticed with it, a lot of which are pretty minor, but one that might be a little bit on the game-breaking side. So to start off, ever since 7.23 dropped, there was a change made to the retrieve items functionality, because before, all it would do was take items from your stash and then put them on the Courier. And now what it'll do is that it will take items from your stash and then deliver them. So casting just this will deliver my Aether Lens recipe. And I don't think inherently this is a bad change because it makes microing the Courier technically easier. There was already this button and the button in the bottom corner to deliver items pretty easily for new players. This change is pretty punishing, I think, for players that use Shift Q a lot. Because, say for example, my Courier is not in base. It was out here delivering TP scrolls, and I TP'd bottom, won a fight, and I want to buy the rest of my Aether Lens. So what I would do is tell the Courier to retrieve items, and I would Shift Q, go to the secret shop. And because of the change to how this ability works, it will deliver the Aether Lens recipe before going to the secret shop. And so a process that should be as simple as going down to the secret shop and then delivering is now coming down, picking up the item, delivering it, going to the secret shop, and then delivering it. This is also an issue if you Shift Q the delivery at all, like this, which is how a lot of players probably did it before, especially when multiple people had items on the Courier. So what it'll do is it'll come all the way out to me, and at this point it's still casting retrieve items, and you can see that here. It says transferring items, but it's the icon for retrieve items. And once it gets to me and delivers the Aether Lens recipe, it will then start the process for transfer items. And since I don't have any items left to transfer on it, it says no items to be delivered and just stops moving. And so this is why people's Couriers have just been sitting in river or sitting in lanes. And another issue that I think kind of stems from this is that when the Courier has multiple orders Shift queued to it, it has to get really close to you before it can like do the next step. And so, especially when the Couriers are running around level 1 at like 280 move speed, having them walk super close to you in lane is a pretty good way to get your Courier killed. And I've had my Courier die multiple times because of how this change works. The other issues I have with this hotkey are, say for example, you have items in your stash. If you click it and then click it again, it won't deliver the items. And that's because it had nothing to retrieve. And so the functionality of this as a delivery key doesn't really work in that sense, and it can be pretty annoying. Another thing is that if you are dead, this key is pretty useless altogether because, say for example, I'm dead, I have a couple wards that I want to put on my Courier. It went to my fucking hero. Say I want to put down wards with my Courier while I'm dead. Casting this ability will retrieve the items and then instantly try to deliver them, but since I'm dead, we'll just put them back in my stash. And so this functionality is pretty bad in this case as well, because then I have to manually cast this or click here. The next issue kind of stems from this previous issue, and that is, for me personally, I've been using Shift Q with the Courier for like 6 years, and it's really just muscle memory at this point for using the Courier. And because of these changes, it's made using the Courier very frustrating. And so I've looked for other ways to get around having the Courier function that way. And so what I've looked into doing was using the hotkey for take stash items. And there's like a few problems with this. The first one I would say is that it's not Shift Qable. So say for example, my Courier's on a base, I will tell it to go back to base, Shift Q, the retrieve stash, and then deliver. And you can see here that it like recognized that I clicked the button, but it's not Shift Qable. And so this hotkey is kind of useless if your Courier is not in the fountain. The other thing that's pretty dumb about it is if you have an item that is stackable. So say clarities or salves, smokes, mangoes in your character's inventory as well as in your stash, this hotkey will always bug out and leave items behind. And so you'll essentially have to click it twice every time, maybe thrice. I can't even get it to get the clarities now. Yeah, this hotkey sucks as well. And so there's no real good way to get the functionality for the old retrieve items back. But yeah, so I would really like to see the changes that were made to retrieve items reverted, because it's, I think, overall a pretty bad change, and only really punishes players that are accustomed to using the Courier. The other issues are all pretty unrelated to the previous ones, but one of them is that if you double tap the select Courier hotkey, it won't follow the Courier like selecting your hero will. And so say, for example, you've got your Courier over here, you want to shield it and speed burst it through their fountain to pick up a gem, and then get it over here and TP back to base. When the Courier is moving at like 500 or 700 move speed, I would personally like to be able to lock it on. That way I have better control, especially in the corners of the map where the camera is like locked out of going any farther. I would personally like to be able to do that. So the only way I've seen to be able to do it is to make a control group for the Courier. But say, for example, you're playing like Broodmother where you have 4 or 5 hotkeys already. Having a 6th one just for the Courier might not be something your layout is set up for. This next issue only relates if you have the TPs require stop option set. For the Courier, it just doesn't work. And I know this isn't a problem with Lone Druid or Arc Warden or Meatbow, but with the Courier, it just doesn't work. Another thing is that the TP slot is kind of useless. I would suggest making it so locked TP scrolls go there, and then unlocked TP scrolls come back. But another weird bug is that if the TP scrolls are in the backpack, the Courier can manually cast them, which I guess kind of makes up for them not having a TP scroll slot, but is still a little bit weird because it's not bound to anything. The other bug is that if the Courier is delivering an item, or like en route delivering items, and you lock a separate item, it will return back to base. So say I didn't want the Aether Lens, it's not going to deliver anything now. This also works if you unlock it, so this is also pretty inconvenient. But the big quote-unquote game-breaking bug that I alluded to at the beginning was that if your Courier dies at any point before level 25, it will still be able to use items. So what I did was, at the beginning of the game, I just ran my Courier into the mid tower. It died, it respawns in like 60 seconds, so I don't lose any passive GPM because the game hasn't started yet, and my Courier will be able to use items for the rest of the game. And so, say at level 5, my Courier is flying, and it'll be able to place down super deep wards, and if I have a Quelling Blade on it, it'll be able to deward as well. The other thing is that if you're playing a character maybe like Chen or Phoenix or Silencer, where you don't need a lot of items and you could be useful with just your spells, you could just pool all your gold into an Aether Lens and a Meteor Hammer, and then just have your Courier sitting in trees in side lanes, just constantly pushing out waves and farming essentially for free. And I don't think this is like super busted, but I think it gives players that know how to use this bug a pretty distinct advantage. And also having Meteor Hammered Couriers sitting in the trees at like level 10 or 12 is pretty hard to deal with. But yeah, thanks for watching. Valve, if you see this, please fix this hotkey to how it worked before. Thank you.